What is up, guys? So today we're gonna do something a little bit different. We've got an all-ladies motorcycle ride going on, which is awesome. I'm so happy to see these girls getting everything together, picking a route, making it happen. Big shout out to you guys, you girls. Anyway, today I'm going to be out there taking photos and it should be a great time. So this video is gonna be somewhat of a tutorial, somewhat of a ride-along, if you will, with me when it comes to shooting outdoor events. I'm gonna talk about the lens that I use, I'm gonna talk about the settings that I use, why I have personally chosen these particular things for my outdoor photography or my outdoor event photography. These are not, rules are not necessarily anything that you have to go by to get good images. I see a lot of event photographers out there that get amazing images and I have no idea what settings they're using, I don't know anything. This is just stuff that I've kind of figured out on my own and I've come to trust this particular setup just to ensure that I get pictures that people are happy with. And again, this almost comes down to my own style of picture. The way that I compress the picture with the long lens, all the way to the way that I edit. I'm not gonna get into the editing part of it in this video, but if you would like to see how I go about editing my pictures, leave a comment below and I might do something like that in the future and possibly give you guys links to maybe some of the presets that I've created over the years. Anyway, the video is kind of all over the place. I apologize for that. I was more concerned about getting the shots of the ladies and I wasn't really vlogging a whole lot until I had a little bit of time where I could talk to the camera, I could talk to you guys a little bit. So I apologize if it's a little hard to follow along. In the end of the video, I'll do a recap of the things that I think that you should pay attention to or maybe consider when doing outdoor event photography. Things that I've picked up over time is if you're looking to get into event photography, these are some tips that you could possibly use, at least as a base starting point, and then you can tweak it to get your own style and figure it out on your own. That's part of the whole experience with photography is learning, constantly learning, figuring out your style, figuring out what makes you you. Anybody can pick up a camera and take a picture, but only you can create a one-of-a-kind picture that people are gonna see and they're gonna recognize it as being your picture. This doesn't happen overnight. This happens over the course of trial and error and many pictures. So anyway, enjoy the video and I'm gonna be doing more tutorials here in the future. I'm gonna do some editing tutorials probably. I'm gonna be doing some settings in the camera tutorials and just some random things. Maybe some posing, I don't know yet. There's a lot of things that I'm still learning as a photographer, as a creator, and I know that you are as well. Everybody is. If the day that you stop learning your craft or improving your craft is the day that you fail, in my opinion. I feel like it doesn't matter how good you are, how many places your name is, it does not matter. You have to continue to grow as a creator. You have to continue to grow as a person, and that's how you just continuously get better. So let's get better together. If you have any tips or tricks to add to my couple things that I throw in this video, put them down below. I would love to see what you guys have to say about that. I'm always up for learning, so if you have any tips or tricks that you think that I could utilize in my outdoor photography or my outdoor event photography, please leave a comment below and let me know. Let's chat, let's talk about it. All right, enjoy. All right, good morning, good morning. Today we're doing something a little different. So we've got the all ladies ride. I'm gonna be out here doing pictures for that. Today I'm just gonna kind of go over how I do outdoor photography, what lens I use, why I use that lens, and kind of what I'm looking for when I'm doing different event photography. Again, this is outdoor. We've got a lot of room, we got a lot of space, so I'm able to shoot it this way. So we'll get into it. I'll give you some tips and tricks of what I kind of do when I'm doing outdoor photography, outdoor event photography. All right, so we're out here. I got ahead a little bit. That way I get pictures of them coming into the gas station, which is gonna be one of the meeting points that they're gonna meet at. So I got a little bit ahead. That way I can take the pictures as they're coming in. So the first thing I like to do when I'm doing outdoor photography, outdoor event photography, is I like to use a long lens. It's kind of my style, kind of the way that I do it is I don't want to catch people, I don't want to ask people to take their picture. I don't want to have them pose. I want to catch them naturally. So like today I'm using a 200 mil, use the longest lens possible, especially if you're doing an outdoor event. That way you're not in the middle of what's going on and you can just stick on the outside, let them do their thing, and then you capture the moments from outside. That way you can get them naturally, they're not posing or anything like that. This makes for a better picture. Again, this is all in my opinion, so if you don't agree with me, that's fine. Sometimes you have to pose your people. Sometimes if you're doing a group photo or something like that, you have to pose them. But you just want to have those shots where it doesn't seem like you're there, if that makes sense. At least that's the way that I try to do it. So another tip that I had to learn, because I used to just try to line up the shot, get the perfect picture, and what happens is you're taking too much time to set the frame and everything else that you end up missing a bunch of the shots. So this new rule that I've been going off of because of other people that have told me to do this as well is, you know, it's easy, it's ABC. Always be capturing. Keep your finger on that trigger button and just constantly be taking pictures, because that way you're not gonna catch people blinking, you're not gonna catch people in weird positions and stuff like that. So it's gonna give you the best chance of a good picture of everybody. So just try to get as many pictures as possible. Especially nowadays, we're shooting on DSLRs, it's all digital. We can make sure that we can get 15 pictures of the same thing. We're not really wasting much other than a shutter count, but we can at least in post, we can go through and pick the best picture of those and make sure that we get crispy pictures every single time. As for settings today, I'm rocking, so right now I'm using the 6D Mark II with the Tamron 70-200 SP-G2 lens, which allows me to get that long, flat image that I really like, that really compressed look. So like right now I'm planning on, I got ahead of the group, and what I'm gonna do is take pictures of them as they're riding into where we're going. And as you can see, quite a ways from the actual entrance. But I'll pop up some pictures right here to show you kind of what I'm capturing from this distance and at this angle as they're starting to come in from the main road. Now again, there's no right or wrong way to do these event pictures. This is all just based on what I try to do. This is what I feel like everyone kind of finds a look that they're going for. They end up with their own identity almost when it comes to their photos that they release and everything. So it's just the way that I do it. Now I did bring a shorter lens. I did bring a 24-70 lens as well, which I might use here after we're done eating. I might try to get some nice up close pictures and stuff like that. And those will be posed, you know, so that kind of goes against my whole don't be in the middle of the event. Stay to the outside and shoot from the outside, but sometimes I want to get some of those up close pictures. So I did bring another lens just in case I wanted to do that. So I might try to do that once everybody gets settled and everything. So as for settings, I'm shooting at whatever my shutter speed is, which is typically a pretty high one. It's pretty bright out today, so I'm shooting a fast shutter. I'm keeping my ISO at auto. That's one thing that I like to do, is keep it at auto, so it's one less thing that I have to worry about. So unless I have full control of my lighting and my situation, but with the cloud coverage today, it's just easier for me to make sure that I have my shutter speed fast enough to capture people as they're moving. I want to have that separation of background, so I've got, you know, typically I'm shooting at f2.8 to f4 for at least today. For a lot of outside stuff, a lot of it's going to be 2.8, sometimes 3. So as people are rolling in, as you saw in those pictures, or I'll show you in these pictures that I'm getting of them rolling in, I'm actually shooting those at f4. That way I've got a little bit more room to wiggle with that way, because they're moving. So I'm also shooting an AI servo. That way I can track them a little bit better. So hoping that, and then again, I'm gonna go ahead and take multiple pictures of everybody that's coming in. I'm just gonna keep shooting, hoping that we get at least one crispy picture of everybody. So at least that's the goal. I know it can be difficult sometimes, but we're gonna try our best. Because the problem is, a lot of times what happens is, that's why it's important to have the right angle, because a lot of times they'll come in somewhat staggered, but if you're in the wrong position, you're gonna end up having the people on the left side blocking the people on the right side. So you kind of gotta be able to move around. You gotta be versatile. You gotta be able to change with your surroundings and change with how they're coming in and all that good stuff. So, all right, there they go. They're gonna be turning in. We're running AI servo. From here you can tell how far back I am from getting their pictures and everything. That way it gives me plenty of room. But again, I'm using a 200mm lens, so that way it gives me plenty of room to play with here. So it can get difficult because you end up with people coming in fast and in groups. It's tough to get all those pictures. So you just keep shooting. You just keep shooting. So the top pointers that I could give anybody trying to do outdoor event photography is going to be, one, use a long lens. I know a lot of people are running with a 24-105 lens, which could be sufficient, but I would try my best to stay outside of the group. Try to shoot from the outside in. That way people don't really know that you're taking a picture in the moment, and it's more natural. That way you've got people interacting with one another during the event as they're supposed to be, and the camera isn't distracting them. That way you're gonna get more candid pictures of the people that are attending the event and all of that good stuff. Another quick tip is to find a good location. So as you saw, we've got motorcycles coming in. I wanna make sure that I'm in a spot that I can capture as many of them as possible. So knowing where they're gonna be coming into where we were meeting, I was able to position myself so I could get as many of them as possible without too many of them being blocked. Although you're not gonna avoid that, especially if you're a single shooter, it's gonna be tough to make sure that you're in the perfect spot, but you can try to get in the best position possible. And just move around if you have to. Don't be afraid to move around. You're not locked to one location. You can, especially with the long lens, you can walk all the way around the outside where everybody's at and hanging out, and you can get multiple angles of everything that's going on. That way it doesn't look like you were stuck in one spot. The other big thing that I always recommend, and again, this is something that I learned along the way, is to always be capturing. The worst thing you could do is to spend so much time trying to get the perfect picture, and what happens is you end up missing all of the pictures. So what I try to do is, again, just try to take as many pictures as possible. For instance, for this event, I ended up taking probably close to 500 pictures in total, but I only actually used about 90 of them. And the reason for that is, again, because I just kept shooting. That way I can ensure that I've got at least one good picture of everybody. If I can end up with a good picture of everybody or a handful of really, really good pictures of people interacting, then we're solid. That's what I'm going for. As for settings, that's kind of personal preference on everybody on how you want to set up your camera. For me, again, I've said this before, and I try to use auto ISO. Now again, this depends on the situation, especially for outside photography. When I'm dealing with an event, there's two things that I want to make sure of, and that's my shutter speed, because I want to make sure that I'm able to capture people when they're moving, especially in an event like this where I've got moving motorcycles. They're not still, they're moving, especially when they're coming into the different places that we're going and all that stuff. So by having a high shutter speed, I'm able to capture them when they're moving. The other thing that I want to keep an eye on is my aperture, because I want to make sure that I don't have so high of an aperture that everything behind them is in focus. I want just them in focus, which is why I try to lower that aperture just a little bit. So I'm running like an f2.8 to an f4 tops, just depending on if they're on the motorcycle or if they're just standing still or something like that. And if I can focus on those two things, ISO isn't super important, especially if we're outside, because it's gonna be a low ISO regardless because of the sunshine. The other reason why I do auto ISO, especially if I'm outside, is that like today we had the clouds that were coming and going, it was sunshine and then it would get cloudy. If I had picked to a static ISO, then I would have had some images come out a little bit more exposed than others, and they'd have been all over the place, which isn't the end of the world, but it would have been a little bit harder to bulk edit all of the images. By having auto ISO set, I don't have to worry about it, and it'll compensate in whatever direction it needs to ensure that I have the same exposure across the board. So that's gonna wrap up today's video. I just wanna take you along, show you kind of how I do these outdoor photography type shoots. If you can get one little nugget from it that's gonna help you with your future shoots, fantastic. If you have some tips or tricks that you'd like to shoot my way, please do. Send it down in the comment or send me a message or something. I'd love to have that conversation with you as far as some things that you've learned along the way that you think could help me out, because I'm all about learning, so please send it my way. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, hit the notification button, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you guys, and until next time.